Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us for our next edition of AMAC's Legends and Leapers. We have just opened the virtual doors and are allowing everybody in. The program will be getting started shortly. So thanks everybody as you're joining us. As we said, the program will be starting shortly. We're just allowing a few moments for our virtual audience to continue joining us.
Look at Evan, ready to go. Ready to go.
There you go. She's ready to go. So let's get us started this afternoon. Thank you all for joining us. We're now turning the program over to Ebony Wimbush, AMAC's president and CEO. Ebony.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the February installation of Legends and Leapers. I'm ready to go because I'm excited. I am the new president and CEO of AMAC, and I want to thank each of you for joining us for another engaging and a dynamic Legends and Leapers conversation. So February, of course, is Black History Month, and I want to share a couple things with you. To celebrate Black excellence in the field of aviation, a week ago, Congresswoman Nikema Williams led the Georgia delegation and introduced a resolution in the House, and Senator John Ossoff introduced a companion legislation in the Senate designating February the 16th as International Black Aviation Professionals Day. And in that resolution, it recognized AMAC as one of the leading organizations that continue to preserve the legacy and support the future of Black Americans in aviation. And that's exactly why we're here today. So as we realize our vision of creating economic equity, access, and wealth for minorities and women in this space, our office, the national office, the board of directors, you on the committees and the foundation, we are working hard to ensure that we are building an organization for the future, advocating for you, educating through programming, and engaging our members. Some of the ways that we're doing that, in addition to the program today, are some things that are coming up that I want to share with you. March the 21st through the 22nd in Washington, D.C., we will have our Economic Opportunity and Policy Forum. We've got an exciting lineup of speakers, including one of AMAC's own. The keynote speaker will be Shanetta Griffin, the FAA Associate Administrator of Airports. In April, we will host ACRP Systematic Inequalities in the Airport Insight event, exploring the racial divide to understand the challenges and the systemic racism in the aviation industry, why it matters, but most importantly, actions we can collectively take to create solutions and future research ideas. And of course, in June, I hope to see you all in Chicago at our in-person event for our annual Business Diversity Conference, June the 20th through the 23rd. So now for the Legends and Leapers program today. Of course, the Legends and Leapers program is a virtual conversation between aviation industry leaders and emerging leaders, which is designed to showcase both the commonalities and the differences in perspective. And what an exciting and dynamic group of, or a pair, I should say, of Legends and Leapers. So today's Leaper, and I'll turn it over in a minute to Lauryn and Ricky, but today's Leaper is our own Simeon Terry, AMAC Board of Directors, Second Vice Chair and VP for Diversity Affairs at Austin Commercial, and Toyin Ogunfolaju, Infrastructure and Social Economic Inclusion Leader at Jacobs. So I'm going to turn it over to Ricky Smith and Lauryn Mangum, but as a reminder, feel free to put questions in the chat during the conversation, and we will have time at the end to answer them. And I want to make a correction. That's Lauryn Mangum Reed. So I'm turning it over to you guys now.
So I do want to make one correction, Madam President. I actually wish Anthony was here because Anthony gets it right.
Ah,
It is Ricky and Lauren, not Lauren and Ricky. This,
noted. I'm not sure that it'll get corrected next month during International Women's History Month, but okay, I gotcha.
You said it correctly the first time, and that is A-okay. That was Ricky's way of welcoming me back.
I am always excited about this show because it's so much fun, very informative, but also a lot of fun. And I'm especially happy, guys. I hope the recorder's on because I'm especially happy because I get my friend back. Lauryn Mangum Reed is back. It's good to have my co-pilot, or as she would say, it's good to be back so that she can work with her co-pilot because she does amazing stuff. So with that being said, I think she's going to do what might be the hardest part of the program for the panelists because they don't like sitting back listening to their introductions, but Lauryn's going to introduce the panel. Lauryn.
I am. And thank you all. Super excited to be back. And Ricky kind of misquoted. I'm the pilot of the show. He's more like the flight attendant, but it's okay because we need him for everything to flow smoothly. While we're flying.
I went from a co-pilot to a flight attendant.
we have some really, we're excited for today's session of Legends and Leapers. We have, Ebony said our leaper. I know he was excited to hear that at the tender age of 28. We have Simeon Terry as our legend today. I don't know if you all heard, because he is our legend today, we decided to open up the show with a little atomic dog just for Mr. Terry. But he is the second vice chair of the AMAC Board of Directors. He's also the vice president of diversity affairs for Austin Commercial. He has been in the construction industry for over 30 years and has managed diversity programs for over 20 years. In his current role, Mr. Terry oversees the diversity and inclusion program internally and externally through cultural competency education, diversity compliance, affirmative action, recruiting, hiring, mentoring, and business procurement diversity. In addition, he develops and implements strategic strategies to maximize inclusion in the workforce and supplier diversity workspaces. Over his 21-year career with Austin Commercial, he was previously the Director of Diversity and Diversity Program Manager. He also oversees Austin Commercial's mentoring program that has graduated over 400 firms, including a $3 billion investment in these firms. Mr. Terry works closely with many different departments within Austin, including accounting, legal, risk management, marketing and business development, operations, and human resources. Simeon began his career in construction as a safety manager and has held the positions of estimator, construction manager, project manager, and operations manager before his career in construction. Simeon worked as a manufacturing engineer for McDonnell Douglas in St. Louis, Missouri, building F-18 Hornet airplanes for the Navy, and as a loss control regional manager for Liberty Mutual. Mr. Terry holds a bachelor's degree in industrial engineering from Kansas State University and a master's in business administration and finance. He also has a master's compliance administrator certification from Morgan State University, associated with the American Contract Compliance Association. He is a life member of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. All right, I need some water. Now that is our legend. Our leaper for today is Ms. Toyin Ogunfolaju. She is the Infrastructure and Social Economic Inclusion Leader with Jacobs. Toyin has over 18 years of experience in the infrastructure and government relations industry. She is the Infrastructure and Social Economic Inclusion Leader at Jacobs. Her SEI role supports social economic solutions as Jacobs delivers its core services, which may manifest itself through workforce development, local supply chain sourcing, and community stakeholder engagement. She has expertise in executive leadership, community engagement, and operations management. She is called upon to analyze critical requirements, identify areas of opportunity, generate solutions, and implement programs. She serves as a member of the Jacobs Global Social Value Economic Inclusion Community of Practice, Jacobs Global Women's Network Steering Committee member, Chair Emeritus for the Jacobs Women's Network Philadelphia Chapter, 2021 Jacobs Harambe Black Employee Network Bridges Summit Certificate of Recognition recipient for contributing to structural change in the broader society, board member of the Economy League of Greater Philadelphia and Conference of Minority Transportation Officials Philadelphia Chapter Networking Committee Chair, and she is only 21. I mean, mic drop and Legends and Leapers is officially over. If those bios don't speak for themselves, Ricky, I don't know what does. I'm personally tired, so I'm just going to give you the floor now.
Close the show. On that note, I agree. So we always try to have impressive panelists, and as you see, both Toyin and Simeon are two very impressive panelists, and we look forward to hearing from them. So the first thing I'm going to do, as you all know, we don't provide the questions to the panelists in advance of the show. As a matter of fact, often Lauryn and I are writing the questions as we're on the program, so we don't always know what we're going to ask. And so I'm going to ask this first question. Will probably make you most uncomfortable because I'm going to ask you to talk about yourself, right? And I know people normally aren't comfortable talking about themselves. So you just heard your resumes, and I know it probably felt like you was going on for 30 minutes because when you're hearing your resume read, it sounds longer, seems longer than it really is. But if you just kind of look back at your resume, what do you want the audience to remember most about your professional accomplishment to date? You pick one thing.
Simeon, can I defer to you as the legend first?
Okay.
Simeon, that is a passive approach to taking over, man. I know it's coming.
I appreciate it there, my fraternal brother as well. I think, and probably what doesn't come out in all of the bio, but one of the things that when I began my career, that no matter what position I held, no matter where my career navigated towards, I always wanted to be in a position to help others, and in particular, people who didn't have great opportunities, regardless of what that was. Coming out of college, I had my direction or focus was definitely not in construction and definitely not to be in the diversity realm. That was never part of my, when I left and as I started out working for McDonnell Douglas, I was an engineer, and I thought my career was going to be that, but God had something different planned for me, and all the things that I've done have been in preparation, I believe, to lead up to where I am now. And I don't know, as God says, further where my career will continue to go, but being in a position to help others is probably the most thing that I want people to realize and know or say about me, is that, wherever he was, whatever he did, he was always extending a hand, always extending resources to help bring other people up, to help make other people's lives, culture better, no matter what the industry or what the job was. So that's kind of for me.
For me, I just first of all want to say,
let me see you top that, Toyin.
Oh, I know. For me, number one, I just want to say thank you for AMAC for this opportunity to just be here, get the invitation and then join. So just wanted to let you know that officially. For me, what wasn't said necessarily in the bio, the short bio, was that before I actually began working in the aviation space, my transportation experience started in transit and rail. And so at a certain point in time in my career, I was a manager of operations in transit, and then specifically for paratransit.
Where was that? Where was that, by the way?
That was at MTA, Maryland Transit Administration. So when I began my career, or that part of my career, I was the youngest one by a lot compared to other folks who had been not only with the MTA, but in that particular department. And so I definitely constantly felt like, I always had to kind of prove myself.
I felt like I had to to definitely learn on the job. I needed to make sure that I was surrounding myself with those who knew more than I did and could advise me as such. And so for me, what I want people to remember is that whether I'm leading from the front or whether I'm leading from behind, that I remember those moments in my career when I was the youngest, I was the only, I was right. And so I always offer that grace with people and understand that we are all somewhere on whatever type of spectrum, and to just make sure that when I'm engaging with people, and whether they're clients who are paying me or they are members of my team or just people that I just know from my community, that I speak from grace and from understanding.
All right. So, and thanks for both of those accounts. So, you know, when you pay attention to what's going on with this pandemic, with COVID, with the Omicron variant, all the numbers seem to be going in the right direction, right? I don't know if public confidence is going in the right direction yet, but all the numbers that track the impact of related to COVID specifically seem to be going in the right direction. And so my question for you, and other people in the audience can probably think about this as well, and you can answer the question through the chat. Are you feeling more optimism right now, or are you feeling still feeling somewhat pessimistic, or are you kind of neutral? Is it are you still waiting to see what happens? And if you can elaborate a little bit on why you feel that way.
Yeah, absolutely. For me, I'm feeling optimistic from the ground and vantage point that I sit. I don't necessarily feel optimistic on the politics of all of it, but I'm definitely optimistic on the ground. I feel like the pandemic has kind of knocked us to our knees. And so I believe that the focus now, no matter what space you're in, I mean, obviously we know that airports are these very, very large scale ecosystem of people and things and services and products. And so for me, I think it's allowed us to be more people centric. And so I feel like the more we can pour into people, whether it's the people who are operating the thing or the airports or flight attendants on the planes, the more we can pour into them and look to them for solutions on the ground, the better. We're better off for it.
I'm going to go along the road of optimism as well, but I'm going to shift a little bit. During the pandemic, and obviously all industries have been hit hard, aviation in particular. From my side of the fence, being on construction and operations, we had to do a lot of modifications, a lot of coordinating with our owners and, from projects and things like that. But one of the things that I was really amazed and still amazed has been our small and diverse businesses. Many have had to make adjustments and adapt. And many of a lot of those that have gone through our mentoring program and are JV partners with us now and doing other things had to modify their business and their infrastructure within their business, come up with new products, new services to accommodate. And I've gotten many stories where that's helped push them actually to another level. So being in a position to all of our diverse businesses out there, our DBEs, MBEs, small businesses, here's this little small plug, but, delve in, get relationships. That's my biggest thing. If anybody asks you, relationships, and AMAC is a great organization to have relationships with, to provide support, to provide guidance, to provide and help facilitate those relationships in a variety of markets, particularly if you're operating in that aviation space, what to do, how to do, where to get information, where to get resources, to leverage, whether it be on buying power or materials. I mean, there's so many resources within the AMAC organization and its membership. And many have told me that that was some of the resources that they relied upon in their specific regions or wherever they may be, in helping them get on the job, or helping them to adjust or to see what some of those owners or even contractors like Austin Commercial were needing because of the pandemic, to help fill some voids and some needs. And being flexible, being adaptable, being in a position to modify your business infrastructure has allowed so many of our diverse businesses to ascend and not descend. And so I just want to give a shout out to all of them. And again, the AMAC for being that resource in the community to our diverse businesses.
So before Lauryn tries to take over, so how has the pandemic changed, or how has it affected your perspective on life?
Perspective on life, I think personally, I think the pandemic is going to be a part of our lives in some format for, I don't know, realistic, probably a extended period of time. Like the flu or other things, I know it hit the world and the economy hard. It's impacted things from logistics and purchasing and shipping and a variety of things, processes, what we normally do and how we modify things. But again, I think that as we continue to utilize our resources, common sense, that we can still function and still be productive by being proactive. I think you can't be necessarily scared of it, but you have to respect it, right? You have to respect what it is done. But I don't think we can cower in a corner or behind the door and be scared of it. We've got to be proactive. We've got to utilize, again, our resources and our relationships on how we, kind of troll through this. And I think as we continue to do that, I think we will continue to rise above and, in all aspects of businesses, be successful, both in our personal and professional lives. So, but I think it's going to be, there in some realm. There's so many different derivatives, and this comes out now, this comes out. Things are being, as you say, are descending. But we can't just get totally comfortable and lax, because that's when things usually tend to really blow up, is when you think the coast is clear and you go back to your old bad habits. Kind of like going on a diet, right? You do all these things to lose weight, but just a lot of people don't realize it's a lifestyle change. You can't just do it for that moment, because if you still have bad habits, eventually you're going to be back to where you were and maybe even worse. So we got to realize that we've got to adjust and adapt our lifestyle changes consistently in order to manage through that.
And Simeon, actually, I'm going to kind of write off of the word you used earlier, fear. I think for me personally, COVID, there was not only just the obvious fear of what is this thing, right, when I first arrived on the scene, but I was actually pregnant most of 2020 and actually ended up delivering my son in October of 2020. And so the fear of, right, leaving my house, what's going to happen out there, right? If anyone who watches any of those zombie shows, it's just like, you can imagine the zombie apocalypse coming through my brain, and then, delivering my son, first child, without, right, the kind of human infrastructure that people typically have had, right, with your family in the waiting room waiting for you. Is my spouse going to be able to join me? Yes or no? That, all those sort of fears. And so I just remember kind of pivoting from delivering him, spending time with them for a few months, and then kind of starting to put that work brain back on. And what I realized is that I could not operate the way that I used to before. There were some North Stars I didn't realize that had kind of developed within me. And so I wasn't going to come back to a work, organization or the world without certain things being at what they need to be, which is what are the values that I'm helping push forward, right? What's motivating me? How am I going to be able to leave the world the way I want my son to be able to kind of take the mantle. And so that kind of allowed me to kind of come out of 2020 into kind of the rest of my life, I think, and thinking about how does all of this kind of, what's the thread here? Is this align with my values? And if it doesn't, that's okay, right? people in organizations and spaces, that is okay. But it's just time, it's time for me to find something else, something that aligns with my values more directly. So for me personally, the pandemic absolutely changed me, the way I think, how I move, and then just appreciation that, you know, we can talk like this.
Okay, Lauryn, I do want to follow up with Simeon just real quick. I'm sorry, because you introduced this whole idea, this issue of fear. And part of the reason why I'm so happy on the show, because you're such a cerebral brother, and I like to hear your thought process. So I mean, so why does the dog chase the cat?
Why does the dog chase the cat? I don't think they're ready for that, Ricky.
They ain't ready for it?
They
Okay.
ain't ready for it.
Go for it, Lauryn.
Could you guys hear? Could you hear my music in the background? Okay. Oh no! I thought the timing was perfect. Okay. All right. We'll have to try that again. I had a little snippet of Atomic Dog again. All right. So, Toyin, we're gonna bring it back to business here. Okay. When was your son born in October? What's his birthday?
October 11th.
All right, I just had my baby girl October 20th of 2021.
So Libras represent, well, Libra into the, yep. Mm-hmm.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So with that being said, you know, we've been talking about the pandemic for so long, almost to the, you know, ad nauseum at this point. You know, it's definitely, to Simeon's point, is a part of our lives and will be a part of our lives for a while. But what we have not been talking about is the Great Resignation. And Toyin, what you just mentioned and what you just touched on, I think has a lot to do with what we're seeing, right? So my question is, what are you guys' thoughts on the Great Resignation? And also, what are you doing in your respective roles to really combat that and also address it?
So I know some of my Jacobs folks are on the line here, and just close your ears. I'm happy with the fact that things are getting shaken up the way that they're getting shaken up, right? And no, it's not just people don't want to work, right? I think people are like, dude, I have options, right? Let me try to explore that. Let me try to figure out how to find that balance, whatever that might mean for you. And so for me, I kind of applaud the moment, and I think it's just making us have to kind of step up our game as different organizations, different employers. But as far as just how I attempt on the day-to-day basis to try to combat that within my organization, one of the things I recognized was that there is kind of a disconnect that happens in all organizations between kind of where that kind of C-suite level strategy, right, their intention, and then kind of the middle management to the folks on the ground, the communication and the engagement that goes on in those different layers. And so I feel like they're on a regular basis, what I attempt to do is to have more of those conversations with, number one, reaching out to those folks who I as soon as I find out someone's new to the organization, I reach out to them. Because it's number one, it's a hard time to be joining any organization, especially if you haven't stepped foot literally in their offices, because that's not where everyone is anymore. I try to make sure that I set up regular check-ins with people who are directly on my teams on projects, and then people who aren't, right? Just people who I just kind of see regularly in some of these spaces, just to say hi. Let's just have a virtual coffee, or maybe, you know, depending on your comfort level, it's okay to meet in person for an hour or so. And so I think it's that check-in, it's that listening, is that take a moment to pause. Don't be trying to text and problem solve while you're trying to have a one-on-one conversation with someone, because I think sometimes you don't realize that it's those conversations that might actually cause a person to stay and give an organization a second look.
One of the things I think in response, Lauryn, is that I think you know, society as a whole in a variety of industries of, you know, reevaluating things, and you have people that, you know, as mentioned earlier, that you know, have options now. And I know when at Austin, and of course we're construction, so it's hard to do construction virtually. Obviously, we had to modify things on various projects as far as people and social distancing and setting up process and procedures that would allow our people to work safely in an environment, but be productive as well. And so there was a learning curve. And I know, in the office, we had some modifications and went to this whole virtual communications. But I think we've seen that, you can be productive, you can work virtually, you can, probably have greater communication, sometimes too much because people got access to you 24/7 now. But, I think we've, again, being able to adjust and adapt. I look at people and I've watched a variety of shows over the time, and a lot of people in the hospitality food industry, okay, that, obviously you have to come to work every day, but, realizing, I've got other options now and can enhance my own economic wealth with options, whether it's, getting re-educated or these types of jobs are now being offered because, again, other companies are having to adjust and adapt to continue to be service their clients, community, providing a variety of different resources. So I think that's, one of the things that has allowed us to, move in a different direction. I think you get, most productive people are usually most productive when they're happy, when they're comfortable. And I think we've seen too, people are able to, and I would just make an assessment. I can't say this for sure, but everybody, wherever you work at, but just look at your absenteeism during the pandemic. If people were virtual, I would probably tend to say that it probably went down to effect because, again, I just know me personally, being able to work from home or if you got a doctor's appointment or other things you need to do, you can take a break, you can go do it and come back to work. Usually if you're at the office or you're on a project or something, you got an appointment and you leave, it may be on the other side of town, but you're probably not going to come back to work, right? Or, you might just take that whole day off. If you're not feeling, just great under the weather a little bit, you're probably not going to just completely shut it down. So there's so many things to track and look at to seeing how, yes, the pandemic caused a lot of things from a negative perspective, but I think it opened our eyes and opened access to things from a productivity standpoint to where you probably have people who probably a little bit more loyal, knowing that, hey, I've got this flexibility and this hardship, but whether my son or my daughter is sick or whatever I need to do, but I'm not stressing out of, utilizing so much my sick time or PTO time or so many other things like that. And I think that has given people a comfort level and even a little bit more dedication. Just people I talk to, whether it's within my company or other companies and colleagues, I know that's something that's been a mainstay a lot, something that's been a nucleus of people have kind of rallied around. It's like, hey, having that flexibility and ability to handle things virtually or go in, I'm on a rotation 2 to 3 days a week. I'm in the office. A couple other days I can be at home, and if I got, the cable man coming, and they give you that 8 to 12, I don't have to take off. I can still work. I can do. So it's simplified a lot of things and made things easier, but also create some challenges because, again, there are some industries where, you have to be, on site. You got to be up close and personal. And I'm not advocating totally shutting that down because I'm old school. I still believe in actually writing thank you notes and mailing them versus just shooting an email or a text. Because when you do that for me, when somebody does that for me for that 1 or 2 minutes, that means I am priority. I'm not in the multitask cycle because you can't multitask writing a personal letter, stamping it and taking it, you have to be dedicated towards that task. So, the old school of me, still loves the up close and personal, shaking hands, doing what we need to do. But again, being smart about it, being selective, being strategic, but, now collaborating both worlds, the virtual world as well as in person. And how do we now take that to the next level in our personal lives and professionally and maximize the outcome with that?
I mean, I like that. The comment you made me think of just, I guess overall we're just redefining what productivity means. And in productivity, maybe people weren't productive between 9 and 5 to begin with, right? I don't know, just a thought.
So
Yeah.
that's you guys both make very good points. And also previously someone talked about just getting more creative and getting more innovative with our approach to things, right? And a lot of us have actually appreciated this virtual space for so many different reasons. I know for one, I'm not late to meetings because I'm I can walk downstairs and here I am. And like Ricky, he may or may not be in the office, but he's business on top, party on bottom. I'm sure he has on basketball shorts right now, but that's none of my business. So one thing that Rachel said, to kind of hone in on what you guys are mentioning, is how has COVID played a part in your innovation strategies within your organizations? And are there examples of innovative services or products that have stemmed from this pandemic?
So for me, actually, with one particular client, right now we're actually helping them to launch, for lack of a better word, an innovation hub. And it's not a hub that is focused on a particular program or project. It's actually a collection of different employees from across the different business units who are then kind of tasked with figuring out how to provide solutions for, let's just say, access at the particular transportation site. And so I think looking to people who we maybe traditionally didn't think or would bring to the table to provide those sort of insights, right? So as much as I'm very much a consultant, and so I always welcome the invitation to sit at the table, but sometimes some of that innovation comes directly from the people who already work for you. And of course, for Jacobs, we've launched several different tools that we're helping clients to utilize as far as identifying environmental justice sites, places to perhaps transition energy products, right? And as the energy transition efficiency products, we've launched ways to do more virtual public engagement. And so being able to provide, reach people both in a digital front, and then obviously we still need to meet people where they are literally, when it's okay for us to be showing up to those community centers or those universities, those common locations, to continue to do that.
So you both have and are living amazing lives. But if you had the opportunity, or you were compelled to leave your body and jump into the body of some other public figure that has been impactful in our society, who is that body you would want to land in?
You never know where Ricky's going when he's asked questions, when he starts like that. So I'm glad he smoothed it on out. But that's a really good question, Ricky.
I'm still waiting. I'm still trying to understand why the dog chases the cat, but that's okay.
Simeon, I'm still trying to narrow down that list. Do you have one?
Yeah, when you say
one person,
public figure, define public figure.
Right.
It's not that complicated. I mean, it could be Donald Duck or it could be Mahatma Gandhi. I mean, it's a public figure.
Because I also thought that Donald Duck was in the public eye as well.
Is there someone that has inspired you?
So I've recently I've been reading some articles written about Tina Turner. I love her. I grew up listening to her music. I've watched the movies, the documentaries. I just dig her on so many different levels, and she's getting up there in age, and so I think a lot of these articles were written to kind of pay homage to what she's done in the music industry. But I just think when I was growing up, I remember looking to her and listening to her music and finding strength within it. One of my favorite songs from her, "We Don't Need Another Hero." And so one of the lines that even now kind of speaks to me is the line from that song that goes, we don't need another hero. We don't need to know the way home. All we need is life beyond the Thunderdome. And I just think about, for anyone who's watched Mad Max, Thunderdome, a place of chaos, violence, right? Just all around negativity. And so sometimes I think about what goes on, outside of my head, within my city, within my state, in the kind of global terms that just kind of resonates with me. So for me, it's Tina.
Well, I'm gonna go down, and I'm glad you went first, because it was in my mind, but I wasn't sure. Again, Ricky, sometimes throw things out there, but outside of my career world, my stress reliever is my music. And as a musician, a bass player, and one that has my own band and has performed for some pretty significant people in the industry, actually, particularly in the gospel realm. I would say those who are musicians know Nathan East. He's a worldwide bassist, and I say that because he's played Tina Turner and hundreds of other top musicians, but more so has traveled around the world and impacted so many lives. And when I think about that, is music, and we talk and kind of delve into the diversity world, music is universal, right? So when you hear a note, it's not a note in Spanish, it's not a note in English, it's not a note in Japanese, it's a note. And it either makes you feel good, makes you feel sad, or whatever that is. So music is universal. And so just being a part of that, and in my endeavors over the last 27 years as a musician that I've done and played and had some opportunities that I normally wouldn't have, and again, impacting people's lives. And so when you see that you can hit a few notes, and you can see somebody's facial expressions change, body language change, that's rewarding. And that's something that Nathan East, either Nathan East or Marcus Miller, two great bassists that make people feel good and move. So that would be my response to you, Brother Smith.
I appreciate you guys making some sense of the question.
Sometimes it is hard to make sense of things that you say, Ricky. So I'm really proud of both of you guys for that. And you learned something new. Simeon, I did not know that you were in a band. We need to get some samples.
That was all because of the question.
Do we get tickets? Do we get tickets to anything?
I'm trying to say, are you on vinyl? Is it like, how can we give us a little bit more there?
Yeah, we'll say that for another round. But I've been on two CD recordings, and I have my own band. And of course, COVID hit and kind of shut things down for a little bit, but things are picking back up. And we are actually part of a gospel play that started a few years ago. That's now picking back up, and we're going to be touring here. Actually, we've been practicing lately, and hopefully things will get kicked off. So we'll keep the AMAC family aware of what's going on, and maybe touring a city near you very soon. So we'll
all right.
I appreciate the plug. I also appreciate when I was giving Simeon his flowers about his band, how his voice got even bassier. Like, yeah.
See.
There you go.
All right. I think our time is up, isn't it? Isn't that time up?
No, not yet. Not yet. So, Toyin, is there something? I'm sorry. Go ahead, Lauryn. I don't want to steal you.
No, you know what? As the pilot, you are correct. I'm sorry. The flight attendants are really the ones that run the show. So go ahead, Ricky. What were you going to say? I'll wait my turn.
You have 32 more times to insult me, okay? So Toyin, is there something about you, similar to what we just experienced with Simeon? Is there something about you that we wouldn't know just by looking at you, or a colleague wouldn't necessarily know about you? That might be interesting. Like, are you an ice skater or a figure skater or something?
Definitely not that. I stay away from the winter stuff. I'm just an onlooker. I am really, really into comic books and that whole world. DC Comics are my comic characters are my favorite ones. And this is totally against all things I should say publicly, but Batman is my favorite superhero. Okay. So that would be something different that no one would kind of pick up on. If there is a movie, if there is a show that has any like alludes at all to comic characters, I'm all in there.
Okay, so who's your favorite Batman?
Christian Bale.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Christopher Nolan, that whole trilogy, that's like right there. The Batmobile. Yes, I'm right there.
Understood. Now, Simeon, are you Marvel? Are you DC? Which side you rocking with?
I'm old school, so you know, I grew up Marvel, but I'll step foot on the other side.
Okay. I thought
Yeah.
you were gonna say I'm old school. You know, I'm rocking with Meteor Man, and I was like, oh, but I thought you were gonna
Nah,
throw a
nah,
curveball in there for us. If you don't know who Meteor Man is, please.
That was filmed in my neighborhood. Yes.
Oh, really?
Callow
Yeah.
Avenue, around the corner from Whitelock Street. Yes.
Wow.
I saw you in there, Ricky. Were you one of the Golden Lords when you had hair?
You know what, Lauren? Now you got 31. 31. So another question. Current events, other than COVID, because we've beat COVID to death, right? You know, what's going on in this world that concerns you the most, other than COVID, and why?
Well, gosh, I don't think we got enough time. But I think probably, obviously there's events and things happening, but I think that probably what concerns me the most is how we as a country and a nation, we have gotten to where it's about sides, it's about, you know, political forums, and we don't talk to each other anymore. We don't have healthy debates where we can actually educate each other. It's gotten to where, you know, it's either win or lose, and win it at whatever cost. And so those conversations, and where, you know, back in the day where you can have a good debate, you know, don't have to necessarily agree on things, but the respect is there, right? And in the midst of that, you actually, you know, you still can be educated and learn some things. It may not change your position, but it gives you insight and foresight on, you know, other people and others, and how they think, why they think, you know, culturally or religiously or whatever it may be. And I think just that nowadays, what scares me is no matter what it is, and particularly with the media, and there's so much things that's in your face all the time. You've got access to instantaneously, and everybody's got a position in the side. You know, I grew up where, you know, you watch the news, Dan Rather, whoever it may be, Walter Cronkite, they gave you the news. And, you know, in your household, you discuss whatever, and then you kind of formulated things, you had discussions. But now it's, you know, this channel's geared for this side, this channel's geared for that side. And so people get so locked in, they don't really think, they don't have open discussions, they just go with the flow. And, you know, so many times we're misinformed. So that's probably what scares me the most. No matter what it is we just take time to think and have conversation. Okay, we can have differences, but we still can respect each other. And that's the biggest thing that's been lost, is respect, in my opinion. So that's one of the things that's scary, because when you throw respect out the window, people are willing to say and do anything to make their case. And that, for me, that's a scary position to be in.
It's kind of how Lauren's behaving these days. Go ahead, Toyin.
In the words of Aretha, R-E-S-P-E-C-T, Ricky, I feel as though she made that song for you to respect me in my position as the host of this show. But that's besides the point. Toyin, he just interrupted what you were going to say. My apologies. It's like when they go and take your drinks at the end of the flight before you're done with it. That's basically what Ricky did to you, but it's fine.
I've been in those seats.
Girl power.
Rock on. No, for me, it's one of the things I think about and I get worried about is when we talk about equity and inclusion. I think about how excited we are about a lot of those big picture climate change, energy transition discussions, right? Where we're going next, where we should, in order to kind of keep our Earth healthy. And then I think about how, you know, as we do as we get on this journey for transitioning, how we might be creating even more disparity, or maybe not acknowledging how much more disparity we might be creating in the workforce for those who aren't, number one, given the tools and the ability to be able to ascend to positions, jobs that make sense for today and then makes sense for the future. And so I worry about, when we spend dollars on infrastructure and we all get really excited that there's dollars to fund our projects and our programs, that we don't have the workforce to back that up, and that we're just creating even more disparity. And so, let's dig a little more deeper and think a little bit more and get a little more in the weeds. How do we get those who were, mechanical engineers to, somehow become the electrical chemical engineers that we need, because that's the direction we're going. So those are the things for me that kind of make me get a little worried, because we're already in such a deficit anyways as far as workforce readiness. And again, technology is moving so fast. Are we really talking about the people? Again, back to the people.
And let's dig a little bit deeper into that. Toyin, your background is SEI. Simeon, your background is DEI. Let's talk about those disparities a little bit. Let's talk about things, and I don't want to, we all know that it is prevalent. We all know that it's there. We all know that not only SEI is very much so needed, as well as DEI, but let's talk about ways, in your opinions, that we can close those gaps and things that organizations, big and small, can do to really present those opportunities and close the disparity gaps.
I'll let Simeon go ahead. I've just talked my head off.
Well, let me back up a little bit. So one of the things is we saw in the world, particularly in 2020, with COVID, and I think all things happen for a reason. And so as a believer, as a Christian, I believe that a lot of things were set in motion. And I believe that it was no coincidence when COVID hit and things kind of shut down, and unfortunately the George Floyd elements occurred. You had a nation at that point in time pretty much that was stabilized and situated at home, locked down, locked in, and not hustling, bustling, and doing things, because the George Floyd situation is not the first time, okay? But it's probably the first time that majority of the nation got exposed to it real time, and subsequently over and over. And so you had a lot of companies and a lot of organizations and things that jump out. You saw a lot of statements, you saw a lot of different things. All of a sudden you're hiring for diversity positions quadrupled. I think they said it increased 113% as far as advertisements for VP diversity, director diversity, chief diversity, whatever you want to call it, trying to implement. But at the end of the day, how things change is, number one, organizations have to make a serious, what I like to say is you got to inspect what you expect, right? So you got to look at internally first, what you have and what is your culture. And you got to make a decision. Are we going to be committed or are we going to be compliant? Okay, it's two different things. Because commitment, you got to invest in that. You got, I look at it like a career and a job. Everybody, a lot of people have a good job, it pays a lot of good money, but are very unhappy. Because a lot of times with just a job, you kind of reach a plateau at some point in time. With a career, and you read off my career has been like this, right? Not what I planned, but I've been very blessed in my career. And when your career, you invest in it and it invests in you. And that's just like with this whole movement is being committed and realizing, what? We don't know what we don't know. And that's okay. But instead of throwing stuff out there, instead of hiring people and all of a sudden trying to make all these changes, but not realizing, what? We don't have the company culture or the infrastructure to support that. and more importantly, to sustain it. To sustain it. And that's the first decision that has to be made. That's the first determination that has to be made. Are we committed or we be compliant? And whichever way you're gonna go, then that's what you need to do. But you have to realize that there's no sense of bringing people in. We're gonna increase our hiring of diverse people, but we don't have the infrastructure or the culture to sustain it. So they come in, but they're going out quicker than they're coming in, right? I'm seeing, and I've talked to colleagues in the industry, there are people that have gotten a lot of these diversity and leadership positions in companies, and in 2 years they're already gone. Why? They're not giving them any budget, they're not giving them any staff, they're not giving them any resources to maintain, sustain, or do whatever they need to do to change the company culture. It's just window dressing or gatekeepers or whatever you want to call it. And let's just keep it real, okay? So that's the first and foremost before you do anything. Inspect what you expect. What's your expectations of the outcome, and realize what you don't have and what you need, and do it slowly and steadily, right? You don't have to do a big splash. I'm more impressed if you can save $5 a month every month for a year than saving $100 a month every other month or so, because the consistency is there, the discipline is there. You're willing to invest, you're willing to sacrifice, and you're willing to make sure that the consistency is there. And that's when you become believable. If I see you doing it every day, I believe you. If I see you doing it every now and then, okay, you're doing it when you feel like it, or you feel like watching you over your shoulder, what have you may be. So, that's one of my pet peeves. So I'll shut it out there because I could go on and on. That's a whole other segment.
Simeon, I'm gonna
turn my mic off.
You're saying exactly what I kind of think about. So you touched on two things. I'll just say real quickly. One is, now all of a sudden deciding that you want to hire and put in leadership position all of the people of color or minorities that, and then firing them 2 years later because you can't believe that they didn't turn your whole organization, into, whatever. And then being very conscious of pipelining, right? Root causes. Let's get back to the basics. Let's talk details, slow and steady, as opposed to the great, minority hire or something. I don't know. Maybe I just coined a little phrase. I don't know. Okay.
Not the great resignation, but the great minority hire, right?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
All right. Well.
Sorry. Go. You know what, Ricky? It's not. You know what? It's not even your fault.
I'm reading the comments and I know I'm losing. So I've got to regroup.
I'm just glad that you know that everybody else knows as well. So it's not even your fault because, I've been on maternity leave. You haven't been, with me hosting the show. And I know the ratings kind of took a little bit of a dip because I wasn't here, but we just haven't had our flow. So we're getting our flow back. That's all this is. It's not your fault all the time, this particular situation. We're just getting our flow back, Ricky, and that's okay.
Somebody referred to it as, was it a bloodbath or something in the comments? Yeah. Taking a beating. But you know what? I love it because I'm happy you're back.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. And I know Ebony has jumped on, and we do have our after show. So I have a couple more questions. There's a couple more questions in the chat too. But Ebony, you jumped back on twice. I feel like that was you, putting the music up, like let's wrap it up. So definitely want to give you the floor. Otherwise, Ricky will keep talking. So
keep talking.
You keep on talking. There were a few questions in the chat, in particular one from a new member. I'd love to get that one out. There was a question for you, and then we can transition it out. But there was a question from a new member for both Simeon and Toyin, asking, as a new member in AMAC, what are the recommended best ways to get connected in the group and to get support from those to help reach lofty business goals and to accomplish some of the things that you guys have accomplished in your career?
I'm going to say this, and again, I stay consistent no matter what I do, because again, it has been, for me, career-wise, extremely important. As a new member, first of all, welcome, and thank you for making AMAC a resource of your choice and investing in it. And as second vice chair, hopefully I'll get to meet you or get information about you, but we want to do everything we can to invest in you as well. And it starts with relationships, and I don't waver from that. I know it sounds simple and it may sound silly at times, but relationships are so key, even more importantly now than probably ever. Because again, you never know who knows who. And I say that because in this industry, when I came in, and something, my parents always told us, me and my siblings growing up, is you're nice and respectful to everybody because you don't know who knows who. And I can't tell you how many times I've come across people in this industry and just in my livelihood, only to years later, other states, other countries, to meet somebody and you mention something, it's like, oh yeah, I know that person, he or she, we work together. That's my brother-in-law. That's my whatever. And, oh, I know so-and-so, and I can help you get through that roadblock you've been having. Let me make a quick call because of such and such, out of the blue. And again, those relationships within AMAC, not only at the executive level, but the membership level, and being in tune and being a part of events like this, okay? So you get to meet and see, and hopefully the information is shared, but helping identify where those resources are for the particular needs that you may have, and also you, okay? So it's not just because you, I'm sure, are going to be a great resource to many others as well, whoever you may be. So it goes both ways. So be willing to give as well as receive. Don't feel like you don't have anything to give. I'm sure you do. If you're a business owner or part of a company, whatever, I'm sure you have something to give. So again, it's those relationships, and you start there. And again, that's the foundation, and it'll only spread. And hopefully you'll be able to come to our great conference we're going to have this year in person. And that is a great opportunity to, water those seeds, so to speak. And again, inspect what you expect. What are the expectations? Inspect internally, and then it'll flourish without understanding, know what you need. But those relationships are key.
All right.
Thank you for that. So with that and being respectful of your time, I just want to thank both legends and leapers. If I had some applause music, I would put it on. I have to work on that. And so again, thank you for the engaging, for the insightful conversation. You guys are standing on some legends within the aviation professional or aviation industry, but I know based on this conversation, people are going to stand on your shoulders based on the work that has been done. So as a reminder, if you know other industry legends and leapers that you'd like to hear from, please send us the information at info@amac-org.com. Don't forget to join us in March on the 21st and 22nd at our Economic Opportunity and Policy Forum in Washington, D.C. And remember to save the date for our in-person event in June for our annual Business Diversity Conference. So thanks again for joining us, and we will see you next month for Women's History Month, where we have a powerhouse of women where we're gonna take over the whole show. And we are playing the Beyonce theme song, Who Runs the World?
Oh gosh.
Hit it, Lauryn. Who runs the world?
Oh, girls, sorry. So I need to balance my moderating with my DJing because I had a comic dog ready for Simeon and just Simeon. And for Rod, who is in the audience right now. But I actually have a question. Toyin and Simeon, Toyin talked about Tina Turner, who, by the way, hands down, they need to do a special just on Tina's legs because that woman, no matter what age she is, I think they're insured. In fact,
They are insured, yes.
Yeah, they're insured. But let's talk about giving people their flowers. And I feel like we don't do that enough, especially for those that are still here on this earth with us, right? Talk about, we always give people their flowers after they're underground, but we need to start giving them to them while they're here. Who do you want to recognize? Who do you want to give them their flowers? Whether it's in the industry, as far as someone that's been integral in your success, or even outside the industry as well.
You don't have to pay for the flowers, by the way, that you're giving. That's on AMAC.
It's a good question.
Wow,
While
you know,
you're thinking about it,
Farad
said,
is losing his mind on in the comments. But I'm feeling you, brother.
You know what? I just saw in the chat, and there's so many people, and hopefully he's still on. But I'm gonna give some flowers to a mentor of mine and someone who helped me migrate into a new community when we were looking for work and getting an opportunity in the Tampa market. And that's Joe Robinson. Joe is a mechanical engineer, brother that graduated from University of Iowa back in the 70s and was doing some things, setting standards in the engineering field when it wasn't popular for people of color. And you know, Joe befriended me in that area. Joe has his own engineering consulting firm and really helped me in that market years ago when we were getting ready to build the APM and Conrack at Tampa International Airport, and has been a great friend, is a Nesby brother, nationality Black engineer, pioneer. And so I just want to say to him, hopefully he's still on there, and just thank you, Joe, for befriending me and guiding me and helping educate and teach me some things continuously, and for our long-standing relationship and friendship. And hopefully see you soon in that market. Some things are ramping back up at TPA, so I'm gonna be tugging on your cape and pulling on you. But I appreciate everything you've done, and also in the community. This is who gives back into the community continuously and effortlessly, and is very selfless. And hopefully some of y'all, if y'all don't know him, hopefully you can get to know him at some point in time. But he's been a big supporter, a member of AMAC, and has supported me in the organization. So to Joe Robinson, thank you, my brother. I appreciate you.
that's awesome. And accolades aside, the fact that Joe was a brother in Iowa in the 70s, you need to give that man his flowers. So I hats off to you, Joe, and definitely looking forward to seeing you in the upcoming AMAC events. Toyin, who do you want to give flowers to?
So there are actually two individuals, but they work on the team and help lead the team that I lead at the Philly airport. Two individuals, one, Denise Bailey with Milligan Consulting, and Greg Eel with Trizen. They're both principals, owners of minority businesses in Philly, greater Philly area, but they work their butts off at the Philly airport. They've got plenty of other clients, but they do it well. I started my aviation career, I would say probably about 4 years ago, and they were the team that were in place when I took over as the deputy program manager. And so every day, regardless of whether they do it intentionally or not, just because they're just brilliant people and humble, they make me step up my game. They make me think locally, at the same time globally. Their attention to detail is amazing. Their ability to think with the client in mind and be able to identify the client's need without the client even knowing that they need that thing is extraordinary. And so they're not the ones like on panels. They're not the ones who are, posting on stuff on social media. And so I just want to give them their flowers, and I give it to them every day. Every time I can tell them, thank you, I appreciate you, I do so.
So I want to create another tradition, because we, in our community, we're not bashful about talking about people behind their back. And so since the camera's on and we're recording this, I want to start the tradition of, Lauryn, you've got to give us an update on baby London, because I want her to know one day when she looks at this video that we talked about her behind her back.
So and for those that I was on a AMAC governance and performance call yesterday, and an individual didn't even know that I was pregnant, let alone had a baby, because we're not seeing people in person. So my daughter was born October 20th, 2021, Miss London Ashley Reed. I don't know who she gets this from, but baby girl is a firecracker. And she has so much personality. Next one, I'll make sure that I have her here. It's a busy day. So her G-ma and her great grandma are holding it down for me. But she is just turned 4 months. She is 94 percentile for height. She looks like a toddler at this point, but I'm excited for her to be my little aviation baby. There's so many young people that don't know about our industry, right? And don't truly understand it being a multi-billion-dollar industry. And so I'm excited to just have the opportunity to introduce my little one, not only to this industry, but to all the amazing people, especially AMAC. She will be in Chicago. So she will be meeting everybody, but London is something else for sure. So I'm excited to have her take Ricky's place in moderating, and we can do a mother-daughter duo here soon.
So I have a little time, because that's going to be a little while.
The way she's talking, Ricky, you better hold on, because we may have her on the panel by August.
Oh, wow. All right. So I think that's it. Is that a wrap?
I think it is. We don't have any more questions coming in. Simeon, thank you so much. You are always just the insight that you give. You know, I talk about Mr. Benton and him being bishop. I think he's holding down the East Coast, you holding down the South of your mega churches respectively. You guys always just the knowledge that you bestow is always amazing. Toyin, I can't wait to meet you so we can talk all things new mom and just the impact that you are making on this industry at Jacobs, and just bringing additional insight to SEI is truly a blessing and amazing to see. So thank you so much. And then there's Ricky.
Thank you for having us.
And there's Ricky. Thank you all so much. Lauryn,
Thank you. Appreciate it.
I'm going to send my people to your house.
So they can love on me and send me my flowers, Ricky. You should.
You know what? Because I'm feeling like Ukraine right now, you know. I'm sending my peoples to your house.
But Simeon never answered the question. What's the question that you've been asking him, Ricky?
Oh, he's not going to answer that question while the recording is on.
No.
And I knew that.
Good.
We're good.
It's Oh man.
Thank you all so much.
Take care. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
All right, bye.
Bye.
Appreciate you.
Good job, Ebony.
Thanks, everyone.